La Crosse Local is proud to be a sponsor of the La Crosse Winter Roots Festival, brought to you by Ultra Federal Credit Union. We invite you to celebrate music, cuisine, artists, makers, brewers, and distillers in the new La Crosse Center Riverside Ballroom. Musical entertainment includes Dan Sobronic, Reed Grimm, Tug, The Remainders, Greg Hall and the Wrecking Ball, and the Trippin' Billies, the nation's most renowned Dave Matthews tribute band. La Crosse Winter Roots Festival is presented by the La Crosse Center, La Crosse Local, and with special thanks to The Remainders.
I'm going home. Hey, I'm going home.
Find out more information and how to get tickets at lacrosselocal.com. We sat down with guitarist and songwriter Alex Toast. We chatted about influences, his process for songwriting and recording, and we touched on the recently released Focus, a percussive fingerstyle music video filmed by Dylan Overhouse Productions. You can find more conversations, food reviews, live music, and events on our website, lacrosselocal.com. I'm Amy.
And I'm Brent.
And this is La Crosse Local.
We have to create. I think I am under the belief that no matter who you are meant to create something. You're meant to express your essence in some way with a soul-fulfilling purpose. A soul-fulfilling purpose, I would say.
My name is Alex Traster. I'm also known as Toast. I was born here in the La Crosse area and grew up in the little area of Reno, Minnesota, just down the way from La Crosse. And music has always been a part of my life. My dad's played in jam bands and stuff since I was a kid. I joined the La Crosse Boy Choir when I was 9 years old and have been involved in choirs and stuff throughout that way. My dad owned a stained glass shop where there was always like fancy music playing in the background. So music's just kind of always been there.
Well, recently, I just got turned on to your music from, you just released a new video for the song Focused. You kind of have it in there, you call it Percussive Fingerstyle for the song, recorded by Dylan Overhouse. Listening to some of your other work, you go from quirky to some just really serious guitar-driven songs. Where does some of your influences come from?
Well, I guess over the last couple of years, I've been taking that dive into percussive fingerstyle stuff. I mean, I've been into Andy McKee for a long time, and my dad used to play like Michael Hedges and whatnot in his shop. So I guess the last couple of years, though, I've really focused on that more and wanted to learn more techniques in that. So lately, my influences have been people like Alexander Misko, Daniel Champagne, Marcin, like I said, Andy McKee. But if we look a little bit further back, the kooky side of myself, I've always been like a performer, stage actor type of character. So I was heavily influenced by Ben Folds growing up, and he's always been kind of a weird, kooky, like, all right, kind of dude. So there's a little bit of that in there as well. I'd say I was also into like Minus the Bear a lot back then. Chris Thile was a huge influence on me. Virtuoso style playing has always intrigued me. And something about Thiele's songwriting has always been just a little bit different than standard, it seems like. I mean, sure, everyone's got some songs where it's like chorus, verse, whatever. But I kind of like the whole, what's the word for it? Progressive approach. There we go.
One thing that I've just kind of made me revisit is I recently interviewed Willie Porter, who, has some of that kind of unique sound as well. And then I brought up Leo Kottke and Michael Hedges, who I never really thought about. I always thought of them leading with the guitar. And then I realized that both of them sang. I'm talking about Michael Hedges and Leo Kottke, which kind of, reminds me of kind of the work you're doing. It was a different sort of lyrics, it was a different sort of way that they present their vocals. But I always forget that they also sang.
Right. It's nice when there's a lot going on. You can you can listen to it a lot of different times and hear different things because there's so much going on. I love that. And I'm honored that you would think of such when you hear my music. That's really cool. Thank you.
Yeah, just the way it goes, is for some reason I automatically assume that if you play guitar like the way you play, you don't automatically sing with it, but it's something it's been kind of interesting to look through and check out.
Something that I've been really enjoying over these last couple of years of learning this fingerstyle techniques has been looking at some of my older songs and trying to incorporate some of the new techniques that I've learned and infusing them into the old songs, keep them a little bit spicier on my end. Things like adding a little percussive boom chaka pa with the chords that I already was playing. So that's where some of my like singing comes from with that, is just it's older songs that already had the words and stuff in them that have just kind of been slightly reinterpreted ish.
You kind of referenced there, kind of, circling back on these songs. What is your process for songwriting? How does that work?
I channel it, man. No, it's the recent EP that just came out, Focus Question Resolved. That one was written pretty much one riff at a time. The very first opening riff of the song Focus was the first part that came out of me, and I was in a unique tuning in my guitar. And I know it's not like tons of work, but if you're in a non-standard tuning, going back to standard tuning is like, sounds like a lot of work. I mean, it's not, but it's, I didn't want to. So I told myself, if I get out of this weird tuning, I'm not going to keep writing this song. So I'm going to stay focused on it and not let myself play anything other than writing this one song for a while till it's done. So I wrote the song Focus in a week and a half, one riff at a time. The first riff I would play like on repeat, just play it over and over, get in a kind of like maybe a trance-like state, and be open to like when I'm ready to just kind of like noodle out of it, just kind of like guess and stumble out of it. And sometimes nice things came out. And so one piece at a time, it formed. And when Focus was done, it was like 3.5 minutes. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. And then COVID happened. And I've kind of, like a lot of musicians, hit the brakes on going and performing. And I was pretty active in the open mic scene in Portland at the time. And so like not having those few open mics a week to go out and perform at kind of just stopped motivation. It's kind of what kept me progressing, creating new things. It was like, oh yeah, going out and hanging out with my friends at open mic, I gotta show them what I've been working on, type of thing. So without that, it kind of paused for a few months. But when the summer of 2020 came, I started to come around in my mind and want to play the guitar a little more again. So I took the last chord of Focus that I had already written before, and I started with that. And I was like, I'm gonna figure something out and kind of come up with a new groove or whatever. So it was kind of a different tempo and whatever. So it made for a good little break of songs, but it ultimately starts with the end of Focus. So the whole Focus Question Resolve is like a nonstop 10-minute flow. I'm so stoked. Brill Ritter at Super Secret Studios in Portland did a really good job helping me like figure that out, take what was in my head and put it out there.
So speaking of that, being a solo artist, is the recording process, was that pretty quick, or is it something that you take your time with?
Well, it depends on if you count all the practice beforehand as part of the recording process. So, getting prepared for recording is a beast in and of itself. And if you've never done it before, I mean, you have to go in and play to a click track. So if you're not ready to play to a steady tempo, which it's surprising how many musicians don't do that. That's part of recording. That's kind of more or less a given. And you don't have to do it that way, but the pro recordings are generally to click tracks. So that being prepared to just lay it out. And of course, you in the heat of the moment, it's hard to play everything perfectly. So I prepared for a long time and practiced all my stuff to click tracks, had a vision of how I wanted it laid out. I went in and tackled it, set up a time with Brill at Super Secret. It was supposed to be a 4-hour session, but it turned into an 8-hour session. So just an 8-hour recording session, dumping out those 3 songs. And then I sang vocals like separately in the studio, but if I perform it, I do them both at once. So did that separate. I had my crystal grid laid out in there and got the vibes right and everything too. So it wasn't like a super rushed process when I was in there, but it was, I'm all about that vibe and feeling comfortable in expression of self. So that really happened that time. And this time it feels really good.
So, like we've kind of touched on and how I kind of found out about you, you recently released official music video for Focus. Did it with Dylan Overhouse Productions, local guy doing film and photography and stuff like that. How did the project come about? What was the concept for the idea?
Well, Dylan's been a friend of mine for a long time, and obviously I've been watching him progress over the years and become more and more involved in the community, doing really awesome photography and video work, just being involved in the community that way. So I knew he was doing his thing there, and I knew I had this EP I was really proud of, and these fingerstyle techniques that I'd been learning, and the song Focus really is a great just a showcase of. I actually picked it out. After I was done writing Focus, there were 4 different fingerstyle techniques that I couldn't do before I started writing that song that I can like look back at and be like, oh yeah, I can do those now. So I wanted to kind of show those the abilities that I'd picked up off, I guess you could say. Yeah, I just wanted to show it off. And so asked Dylan if he would help me do that. I've been a fan of Candy Rat Records for a long time. They've got a YouTube channel that's really big, and it's pretty much all fancy guitar like that. So I have this dream on the inside to eventually get a video on their channel. So I thought about maybe wanting to submit this one to those people, but I held back this time. Maybe next time. Just didn't have the courage for whatever reason. So
throw it out there. Who cares?
Yeah,
you did.
I hit up Dylan though, and I knew I wanted to do it on the spillway by where I grew up, and he said, heck yeah, should we do it at sunrise? That sounds cool. I was like, oh man, I work until 3 a.m. This is going to be tough. And I initially said no, but then I thought about it for a day and was like, actually, you know what? No, I'll stay up. That sounds fun. Let's do it. And we did it. It was a beautiful sunrise. It was hella cold, but it's okay. It was worth it for sure.
It sounds like you've kind of the early sort of instance of COVID happening and kind of relocating to the La Crosse area, kind of this refreshed look at your music and what you're doing. What's next for you? What are you excited for in, the next year or two?
Ooh. Well, creation front, I'm looking at doing a couple different cover songs. I've been in contact with Brett Hoos from Soundstration Studios in town. He's like a longtime family friend, grew up right down the road from him, good friends with his son. So he's offered to help record some of that stuff. So I'm currently in practice to click track mode on 4 different kind of percussive fingerstyle-y covers. And then also have another cannabis educational song that I wrote quite some time ago that I just haven't recorded yet, called Schedule 1, about how cannabis is still technically a Schedule 1 narcotic according to the federal government. So need to get that out into the world before they actually like deschedule or reschedule it, because that might not be that far away actually. Sweet. Huh. Oh yeah, and then I also have long-term sights of trying to pull some Punch Brothers, Chris Thiele style stuff, and maybe try to do some weird tappy. I have a few original songs that are kind of tappy that I haven't done anything with, but I want to collaborate with some other musicians in the bluegrass instrumentation vein and maybe make something weird and tappy with bluegrass instruments. I don't know. We'll see.
Nice. So, I'm just kind of checking out your website. You got everything from videos to link to merch, to potentially a calendar of events. Hopefully that fills up. So where can people find out more? Where should they go? Where's the best spot that people from your website to social media, or you can name them all?
The website is a good base. You can find all the other websites from that website if you try hard enough. I think, hopefully, might need to update it, but alextoast.com. Pretty basic, pretty easy. Otherwise, I'm on Facebook and Instagram as Alex Toast or Alex Toast Man. Pretty reachable in that way. Or YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel, and I'm going to try to populate that a little bit more over time. So that's youtube.com/AlexToastMusic. Oh, or if you want to buy an actual physical copy of the CD that or your EP that I just made, you can do that off of my Bandcamp right now, alextoast.bandcamp.com. And I actually just got some stickers in this weekend too. I was kind of not going to tell anyone about it, just kind of slip some in with the CDs if people bought them, but no one's really buying them. So I'm just going to say I got stickers too, and they're really cool.
La Crosse Local Podcast is a production of River Travel Media. Do you have an interview idea you'd like to share with us? Message us on Facebook at La Crosse Local. Find out more about us at lacrosselocal.com, and you can subscribe to the La Crosse Local Podcast on your favorite podcast app. If you like us, rate us 5 stars. We appreciate it.